I'd like to introduce you to Sherry Johnson. Sherry's grandparents came here from Russia and Poland, and she was born Sherry Martin in Brooklyn, raised in Manhattan and Queens as one of 3 children. She grew up in group homes, and when she got old enough, she moved out on her own and decided to come out west. Here she went to college, then on a church mission to Ecuador, and then after coming home, got married and started a family. Sherry is now living in Twin Falls with her husband and working as a massage therapist at her own business. And Sherry has a story. Please welcome Sherry Johnson.
Just in case, I have notes, so I don't lose track. Just want to say how thankful I am to be here and how grateful that you chose me as one of your speakers. And I'm very humbled and honored to be here. So thank you so much, Rotary Club and Twin Falls. Appreciate you. My story starts out with the first memory I have as a child, and that is of my sister changing my diaper. The reason why I remember this is because she took me with a pin, and also her nose dripped on my lip. But my sister had the biggest green eyes and the biggest smile. She was very funny, and I really, really loved her a lot. She was the main caregiver for me. She taught me how to blow bubblegum bubbles, tie my shoes, count change, use the bathroom correctly. She taught me how to play a couple of card games like War and Rummy. And she also brushed my hair, and she let me sleep with her when I was scared. And another thing she did was, one time I remember, we were very hungry, we didn't have any food in the house, and she took me to her friend's house just so we could eat. But she was always there for me, and so I never ever want to forget that, because we didn't grow up together. When I was age 7, things changed for me drastically. My mother was not so motherly. I don't remember her being so motherly to me. My first memory of her was she did dress really, really nice. She had this red lipstick and polka dot dress and high heels and the nylons with the seam out the back, you know, just really fancy and snazzy. So this is in honor of her. Thank you. But what I want to say is that a couple of things my mom did that I remember was one time my ball went over the fence by mistake, and she asked me really nicely to go get it. And when I did, she had me come in the house and she spanked me really hard. I remember that. That was scary. And then another time I remember she dragged me through the snow-covered streets. And if I had to go to the bathroom, she made me go between 2 parked cars. Now, she had a little different behavior, and even as a little child, I realized something was wrong with her. But I didn't know for sure. But one day, she said we were going to play a game. And the game was we were going to look for change in pocketbooks, in the closet, the cushions of the couch, on the floor. And we came up with 13 cents, enough to buy a bag of potatoes. We usually had potatoes at night and mayonnaise and bread in the morning. Once in a while, we had peanut butter and jelly, and a couple of times I remember we had cheese. But at least we didn't have dog food. I met somebody the other day who said she ate dog food. Oh, grown up. But, you know, people always have it worse than you think. Anyway, I remember one day, she brought home my little brother, and I was so proud to be able to hold him. I felt really like a big girl. He was so cute and tiny, and he looked so peaceful in my arms. I was just 4. And by the time I was 5, I was really jealous of him, because he got to play, and I had to take a nap. And so, I was really good about that. Then wanted to say was, my mom had me watching one time, and when she left, I put his crib rail down, and I took baby powder, and I poured it all over his furniture. It was really fun, except when my mother came back. I had the biggest beating of my life up until that point. It was not good. But I remember one day, it was summer, I was very excited and, transfixed on these dust particles coming through the windows, sun, just through the window screens. And it was just really fascinating. It was so cool. And my brother, he was very excited about the metal bladed fan. Didn't have a lot of covering on it. And just as he was about to put his finger in, I pulled him back just in time. And that's when I realized that I loved it. But one day, things changed drastically for all of us. And I was getting ready for first grade, I remember. And I was getting my hair brushed, and it didn't hurt like it usually did. And I remember I was telling my dogs goodbye, and I was getting my coat out of the closet. I was going to have recess and lunch and meet new friends. It was going to be great. Except there was a really, really loud knock on the door. And it was the police and health and welfare department. And they demanded us to open the door. Open up, it's the police. Woo. Sorry, my water went. Well, I was really super scared, and this is sliding down so really here. And so my head was spinning, my heart was pounding. I think I was going to pass out because everything turned yellow. I ran into the closet, threw everything on top of me, hoping they wouldn't find me. And of course they did, but they yelled and said we all had to leave, and they called out our names. And I was afraid to be left behind, so I got out of the closet. And I remember they snatched us into one car and took my mother in another, and away we went. We weren't allowed to take anything with us. We stayed in this one office for about 8 hours, and I remember we were all so scared. We were crying and we were confused. And they finally came and talked to us and said, your mother is very sick. She's got a really bad headache, so she's not going to be able to take care of you. You're not going to be able to live with her. We're sorry. And you're all going to go to different homes. That was so frightening to a little, 7-year-old, 3-year-old, 13-year-old. And, well, my brother was the first that he was going to go. And he was just 3 years old, and he had, curly blonde hair. He was so vulnerable there, standing all alone. And I just remember thinking, oh my gosh, I'm so worried about him. What's going to happen to him? And I don't even remember saying goodbye. I think I was too shocked. As a little kid, sometimes things go happening to you and you just have no clue. So you just stay. My sister was the next to go, and that's when my heart froze because she was my main caregiver. And I had no idea what they did with her. But as I was sitting on the seat in the car watching the lights go by in the trees, I was wondering, what is going to happen to me? What's going to happen with my life? Where am I going? What are they going to do with me? And I remember that they put me in an overnight shelter, and I had to sleep head to foot with this other girl. But by the next day, they took me to a place where I was going to be able to be for about a year, called Calgary Hall in Manhattan. And I remember a couple things about it. One was that it had a big auditorium, much bigger than this place. And they were all full of beds. And I was in one of them. And I remember I was crying for a very, very long time. This one girl, after a while, she had pity on me and pulled my bed next to hers. Then they finally got me into a room. Another thing I remember about Calgary Hall was that they were very particular about keeping your room very clean. And they would even have the older girls come from upstairs with white gloves to check and see if you had dust on your furniture. And if you didn't make the cut, there would be consequences. My sister was one of those girls. I was so surprised to see her. I don't remember her acknowledging me though, which is kind of weird. But anyway, she did it too. We didn't make the cut. So we had to stand single file outside our room with our hand held out. And then what they did was when you got to the front, they would hit you really hard with a wooden brush. And that was my experience that I remember there. Except, you know, they did a dance number on stage for some time while I was there. That was cool. Anyway, the food was horrible. It was, that was it. And then out of the blue, and without any warning, they decided that I needed to leave and go to another place. And this place is called Child Hall, also in Manhattan. And it had 3 floors of kids, 60 kids in all. Downstairs they had a school that we were going to go to. Upstairs at the top they had an enclosed roof where we could play. They didn't want to take us to the park very often. We were emotionally disturbed. Well, duh. Anyway, the food was very institutionalized, and our clothes came in a box, not out of a store. I remember my first night there. There were kids that were playing cards in my room, and as they were doing that, the counselor came in and flipped on the light really quick, and she said, "Who has a brush?" And the first roommate said, "I lost mine." The second one said, "Yep, I broke mine." Why did I, Sherry Martin, have to bring my brush from Callaby Hall? I had the biggest black and blue mark meeting I've ever had in my life with that wood brush. That lady did get in trouble, and she did get fired because somebody saw my big black and blue mark butt, and then they reported her. Anyway, after that, we just got punished in different ways. Like we had to stand in a corner facing the wall for hours, or we had to stand on top of a chair with both arms out like this and our foot up for hours. I don't even remember being back, but that's what we had to do. There was a girl, she was bullying me, and she hit me in the eye with roller skate. And this one girl, her name was Jenny Barrett, and she was Irish and Italian. She found out about it, and she beat that girl up with a broom so hard she didn't mess with anybody again. And then we became best of friends. As a matter of fact, she was my only friend growing up in the group homes. And I remember we used to go to pizza shops together, ice cream parlors, candy stores, play games. Then she got too old for that place. It was time for her to transfer. Well, okay. While she was gone, I was lonely again. I had no friends. But she had told me that, Sherry, it's going to be okay. Everything is going to turn out okay. I was in foster care since I was 19 months old. My dad killed my mom, threw her out the window. You're going to be okay. Like, okay. So I was alone, and I remember I had an ingrown toenail, and it was very infected, and it was a long time before they fixed it, and the kids would tease me and say stuff like, "Old witch, grandma," and then it come to the point where I couldn't walk at all. That's when they decided, okay, we could take her in to have surgery. Back then, you would stay overnight when you had surgery like that. The first time in such a long time that anybody was nice to me was when the nurse was cleaning my toes. She did it so gently and carefully. Well, anyway, another time there, I had to have 3 teeth removed. They were rotting in my mouth, so 3 extractions at once, very painful, and they did not give me medication. I cried in the room for hours for that one. But they did like to give you medication after you ate, because they didn't want us running around like normal kids. God forbid, we should be normal kids. So, and they didn't take us to the park, remember that? So they tried to give us either Thorazine or Valium. Now, my pill was Valium, and I used to just hide it under my tongue until they weren't looking, and I'd spit it out in the sink. But one time a girl decided she wanted to try one of my pills. And then later on they found her on the kitchen floor, just passed out. But anyway, enough of that. It became time for me to transfer. I was really glad to get out of there. And I went to this next place. It was run by the Jewish Child Care Association in New York. It was in Queens. It was a nice house. It was just 6 kids there. and it had the TV room downstairs, the basement, and upstairs living room, dining room, kitchen, and a couple of bedrooms for the housemates and stuff. Okay, so I did get to live there. I learned a lot, how to ride the subway by myself at age 11, and stuff like that, you know, manners, courtesy, chores, ride bike. I learned a lot. And I found out about my mother. She was homeless for 25 years, so when I got out of the group homes, I ended up moving out west when I, grew up. I started to search for her, and she was homeless for a total of 25 years. And I searched her for 15 years, and there was Mike Crapo, local congressman here. He helped me to find her, and thank goodness for him. We got reunited. I was able to find my sister and brother, but we never bonded. But we still got to, know each other. And also, my friend Jenny found me on Facebook. And I went to see her. She was only one state away in Washington. So we are still friends today. And, I found out my dad was the one that called health and welfare. And it was because my mother she had a mental illness. So who knows what would have happened if I would have stayed with her. So that's my story.